like we're live. So let me know in the chat how the volume and everything is going. This could be a long one, but I think we're all good. No drop frames or anything. So we're going to take a look at 3rd edition Mutant Chronicles. So this is kind of what started it all as far as the stuff we're doing on the channel. All right. So yeah, I'll start with the physical books. I think I'm going to flip back and forth between the physical books and the PDFs, but we'll see how that goes because there's some books I don't have physical copies of. Cool. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for tuning in. Good morning to you. It's evening here, so I'm doing a late night stream. Very cool. All right, so I'll keep an eye on the chat. And yeah, so Mutant Chronicles 3rd edition. All right, so let's get this going. I guess I'll keep my mouse out of the frame, right? All right. Hello, and welcome to a flip through and kind of a promotion for what's going on with Humble Bundle. So this will be a little bit of the origins of how we came up with the Complete Mutant Chronicles, and then also all of these books available as PDFs right now for Humble Bundle. But we'll talk about that later. But there's a link if you want to support the channel. There is a link in the description with our affiliate code, and that'll give us a little piece of that. And it's a really good deal for, I think it's like $17, $18. You get everything they've ever done for 3rd edition. For $1, you get everything you would need to play, which would be what I've got right here, the core book, the player's guide, the Dark Symmetry campaign, which is glossy, and then things like the index and character sheets and things, which we'll talk about. So Mutant Chronicles 3rd edition. So this is a 2D20 version of the RPG system. And we took a look previously at 1st and 2nd edition and some of the differences and kind of evolution of things. This will show us kind of how Modiphius took it and updated it with their 2D20 system, as you can see down here. And this was one of the earlier iterations of it. So similar to the Infinity RPG and the 2D20 RPG and some of their earlier attempts, it works. The 2D20 works well, but it's been refined over the years for things like Star Trek or I would say like the most recent Dune iteration. So they've refined it and kind of made it match the setting a lot more. And so this is an earlier version, and some people don't like the fussiness of it. There's a lot of kind of in-game currencies like points that you're accumulating and spending back and forth. It's a bit to keep track of, and some people complain about the ability in this game for you to be able to force the game master to do things or basically bypass things that the game master puts in your way with chronicle points or momentum spends and things. And so we'll see all of that in a little bit. So first things first. This is probably the only really negative thing that I have to say about this. So there are so many amazing artists that worked on the Mutant Chronicles over the years, and you'll see a lot of examples of their art on the other covers. And this particular cover art, I am not a fan of. It was a real turnoff. I mean, I much prefer what they did on the the player's guide, kind of going back to their 1E roots. But I'm just not a fan, and I think it kind of sets the wrong tone. I mean, they did a nice job updating the logo. I really like the 3rd edition logo, how it's got, you know, the kind of diesel punk mechanical look, but still it's a bit sinister, and of course it's very, you know, distressed. So there may be something I'm missing out on with this, and I hope I'm not making any horrible mistakes with this. But this seems to just really lend to the idea that you're just playing freelancers again. And that's really not the case with this book and all of the source books that were released and everything in the setting. I think they really did a good job of diversifying the setting and letting you play, you know, basically a Siege of the Citadel campaign where it's just, Doom Troopers running and gunning, or you can play, kind of detective style where you're doing investigations as Luna PD. And there's a lot of different ways, and the life path system works well to create really interesting characters based on the parts and the places in the setting that you want to play and the style of game you want to play. You can play a horror game, basically because of the first campaign with the dark symmetry. It is basically a mystery and a horror game unfolding in a corruption. You're following kind of this corruption of the earth. And so this cover, so I think we've got Big Bob Watts and I think we've got Valerie Duvall, and I'm not sure exactly who this is supposed to be. It looks like a cartel marking, but this face is miserable, and the whole overall thing is just okay. It's okay. And the illustrator that did this has worked for Fantasy Flight, some of the Star Wars, I think Edge of the Empire and things. So they're a competent illustrator, but this just didn't. I mean, this is the centerpiece, and this is what's on the GM screen as well. And this should really draw you in. You should just be staring at this art and really imagining what you're playing. I think it's just supposed to be a street, maybe Heimberg. You're just in a street, maybe, Luna City or Heimberg. I'm not sure what they're showing. It doesn't quite look like a citadel, like a dark citadel. And you're, killing your Legionnaire, dead Legionnaire, the mutants and undead Legionnaires of the title. But I hope this is not like a tribute character, because this just looks like a generic freelancer. It's got the kind of Doom Trooper gear, but looks more like a generic freelancer. And I hope it's not supposed to be a caricature of somebody, that runs Modiphius or anything that was supposed to kind of be included. I might be missing something for what this is intended to be, but it just doesn't look good. It's okay. It just doesn't draw you in. I mean, and this illustrator had a huge job because there are so many amazing people that have worked on Mutant Chronicles, and choosing this piece I just think wasn't the best. So I do have the collector's edition of this that just has the Brotherhood symbol on the front, so that I don't have to see this very often. But a little bit about the origins. So the origins of the complete Mutant Chronicles, our lore series, started with these books. So there was a Modiphius web store sale. I think it was one Christmas, and they had their Print Lovers bundle. Everything that they had printed from the Kickstarter and then later to support the game was on sale. And I just decided to go for it and really wanted to, because we had, the first book I ever had for Mutant Chronicles was the Player's Guide. So we were going to do a campaign. Somebody had picked up the core book already. We weren't on board with the Kickstarter. It kind of, we found 3E after that. And so I had the Player's Guide, and we were going to do a campaign. It didn't happen, but we were picking up source books here and there, and I didn't have anything but the Player's Guide, so I just decided to go for the whole bundle. And as I spent that holiday, like the time off we had around the New Year, end of the year, and the beginning of the new year, reading through everything, I was like, this is what we've got to do. And I was looking online to see, there are people that did some kind of read through and a little bit of kind of filling you in, but this needed a good lore series, because it was such a great setting, and Modiphius put so many sources together. And then as I looked for like on Mutantpedia, the PDFs of the previous books, and picked up some used copies of the previous books, the writing of the first and second edition is so great and so intense. And the genesis of the Complete Mutant Chronicles was, trying to capture some of that tone of the earlier editions, but with some more of the completeness of the setting, and kind of make it something that if people wanted to run campaigns in 3E or even first or second edition, they would have some place to point players to give them a kind of a run through of the lore and familiarize themselves with the setting, kind of up to what era they were going to be playing in. So that's where that all came from. So this was included in the print bundle, and this is the only hardback book. So this is a very standard, the really heavy, nice Modiphius hardbound books that they do. And of course, this was made possible. I think a 2016 Kickstarter got Mutant Chronicles 3rd edition going from Modiphius. So they called it the Techno Fantasy role-playing game, our 3rd edition, and some nice flavor text on the back. The solar system is a roaring maelstrom of death and war. The inner planets have been swept clean by the violent onslaught of the Dark Legion's monstrous hordes and undead soldiers. In the enormous cities of the distant future, heretics devoted to the destruction of mankind stalk the dark back streets and gloomy alleys, spread their teachings of greed, jealousy, and war. So Mutant Chronicles takes you on a full-throttle diesel punk ride through the solar system beset by corporate intrigue and the invasion of the Dark Legion. With technology failing due to the insidious effects of the dark symmetry, mankind must fight against the Dark Legion hordes while dealing with infighting and conspiracy. Now in its 3rd edition of the definitive techno-fantasy role-playing game, you can play during the early days of the dark symmetry through the brutal corporate wars, investigate foul cults as technology turns against mankind, or find the armies of the Dark Legion as they pour forth from citadels across the colonies in battle for humanity's future. So yeah, some nice and they really did try to expand the setting as much as possible, and that was something that was happening when it was still in the hands of Target Games and the first version of it, but it did kind of get cut short. They were adding to it, and we had Dark Eden and things that were really starting to give you more places to play and more types of games, a little bit more investigation and intrigue and survival, basically. But this is, I think, a really they did a nice job of filling in a lot of ways to play, so you're not only a freelancer and you're basically only going on missions that the cartel or the Brotherhood is assigning you to. All right. But so yeah, the complete 2D20 system, including detailed character creation, cinematic roleplay, plus the full rules for spaceships and vehicles. Never before seen secrets of the Mutant Chronicles universe and maps of the solar system and Luna City. Yeah, they did a nice job fleshing things out with the maps we'll see on the inside, the end papers. They did some really nice design on the maps, and I think have done like posters and like cloth versions of those maps for the Kickstarter. Insight into the Dark Legion apostles and their unique forces, tactics and ploys, along with the full stats for new and old monstrosities. Briefings of the major corporations, Bauhaus, Capital Mishima, Cybertronic, as well as the Cartel, the Brotherhood, and everyone's favorite, White Star. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to it. It's a thing that they did that I think that's the most negative comments we got on the lore series is, I love this lore series. Why the hell did you include White Star? And it's because we wanted to do a complete vision of it. If you want to play with 3rd edition, White Star is part of that setting. You don't have to. I mean, it's. I think they're removable. But if you want to have modern mechanics, but an old school, a more old school feel to the setting, but we'll talk about that. So, a guide to running adventures during the rise of the Dark Symmetry and the first wars throughout the return of the Dark Legion. So that is how they did it. So here is the example, and this is just I think graphically one of the most interesting things they did was the kind of revised map of the solar system. So they used the astronomical kind of symbols for all of the planets, and so unlike some other distant dark futures that may be a little grimdark, this setting is confined to the solar system, and there's good reasons for that. And I think it makes it a little bit more, the scale is a little bit more imaginable and understandable. I think the evil that you're confronting is unimaginable and kind of beyond, what humans can really deal with. But the scale of the war and everything is just spanning the solar system, and basically, only this is your this is where the mega corporations have colonized, and here be monsters basically beyond the moons of Jupiter is where things go terribly wrong. So humanity was okay up until a point, and then they just decided to go a little too far. And I'm not pointing the fingers at any one corporation, but we all know who is to blame. All right, so yeah, so I'll go through this, and if there's maybe switch over to the PDF when we want to look at more specific rules and stuff. But I want to give you an idea of the print quality and everything. So the end papers are a little flat. They're nice and thick and a little flat in the printing, so you can notice the less saturation here and a little bit brighter here, because here's the glossy pages. And so these are a bit thinner, but they've got a nice coat on them. So the 2D20 lead game designer was Jay Little, who has also worked, I believe, for Fantasy Flight on the Star Wars. I'm forgetting what they called it before they started calling it Genesis, but the kind of rune dice, the chicken bone reading, storytelling, narrative dice system, I believe, of the Fantasy Flight used. And here it is. So Scott Schlomberg. So yeah, so that's. I'm a talented, great working illustrator, but against the likes of Paul Bonner and even some of the newer artists, there's some really great kind of dynamic stuff in here. Some it looks like Polish and Eastern European illustrators that did a great job, but there's a lot to compete with. So here is kind of how everything is laid out, and it's a very typical Modiphius book where the core book has absolutely everything. And I think that's why they wanted to do or this was one of the first inspirations to do a player's book, because you hand this to a player, or even give them a PDF that has, how many pages? Yeah, that has almost 500 pages, and it's a little daunting, and they're not going to get through it. And that was also a motivation for making YouTube lore videos. That's a much easier way to digest a setting instead of going through a timeline and kind of suffering through everything. So basically, the player's book is maybe the first. Yeah, it looks like it's just through the mechanics. So maybe like the first 100, maybe like first 150 pages of this book is what ends up being the player's guide. So it gives you some background on the setting, the timelines and things, and then also gives you all the mechanics of this version of the 2D20 system with chronicle points and momentum and how combat works. But it doesn't go beyond into any in-depth for any of the corporations. So this covers basically everything in the setting and gives you basic stats for everything you could come up against, plus kind of NPCs, like how you would stat NPCs from the various corporations. So as you can see, quite a bit. Yes, they go into vehicles, and then so once you go through character creation and everything in the mechanics, then it starts to get into the setting itself. Talking about Dark Legion and Luna, the freelancers. So your jobs and employment, and then the mega corporations, so Capital, Bauhaus, Mishima, Imperial, Cybertronic, and White Star, and then the Cartel and Brotherhood. And then kind of a review of eras of play. And this is something that a lot of games like Star Trek ran into this, and John Carter of Mars ran into this, and Dune, I think, will as well, is a setting that's big enough and has a long enough historical and not long enough chronology. There's going to be different events that will have and have not happened yet. And so you need to kind of distinguish between eras of play. And they do a good job with their campaign books of making that well understood. And so this is basically the game mastering after so like the last about 60 pages are all game master only kind of help, everything that they're going to need to know, and then a character sheet on the back. So here is the first page, just kind of delving into things. And so as you can see here, give you a little bit of close up. They're already explaining to you, you're going to need dice, you're going to need D20s, D6s, and then also tokens, some sort of beads or poker chips or something that would work well to distinguish. They did, for the Kickstarter print, really nice chronicle points, like Brotherhood coins, the kind of the currency of the inner worlds that you can use for some of the basic currency. But you're going to need a couple of different types of currency. So yeah, you'll need a bigger variety of things. And they did also do with the Kickstarter custom dice. So there are all D20s with the symbols for all of the mega corporations, plus the D6s that they use. And the D6s they use are a little bit different. They have a dark symmetry symbol on them, and then I believe a 4 and 5 have no effect, and then 1 and 2 are 1 damage or 2 damage. You're mostly rolling them for the damage output, or the damage you're suffering, or the damage output of your weapons for various things. So yeah, we'll go through that. Maybe it's a good time to switch over to the PDF. I think you get a good idea. Well, let's take a look real quick at the how things are looking in the back. There's all of the Kickstarter backers, but the character sheet, is that right? Yeah, here we go. There's the character sheet, and as you can see, we still have hit locations. So that's a nice thing that they carried over. And yeah, so pretty extensive. What is that? A 3-page? Yeah, 3-page character sheet for all the to list all your talents and everything. Yeah, I think it'll be easier to see in the PDF. And so kind of going through with what they did with the Humble Bundle, just to let you know, for $1, you get the PDFs for this book, a separate player's guide PDF, so the players can have a smaller, more manageable PDF, and then the first campaign book, which is the Dark Symmetry, which is the first setting the corruption as things are released and the corruption starts to spread. So things on Earth are starting to things on Luna. Earth, the Exodus has already happened, and things on Luna are looking a little strange. So somebody's gone a little too far, and Luna is starting to show signs of dark influence. So that also includes a PDF of the character sheet and the index, which is funny that they include that in the base the base level for $1. But the index, so they printed so many books that they created a master index of where you can find, look up anything throughout the whole series of printed books. So we'll take a quick look at that. So let me bring up the core book, and we'll get back to that. So here, let's take a look real quick this way. There we are. All right, so we're back to our table of contents. So several chapters, and this is, because this is early 2D20, we have an 8-stage life path, which is pretty. I guess the steps got a little bit longer. I think Conan got up to maybe 10 or 12. So the life paths do get longer and longer. So here's our index. Right, so here's the examples of what you're going to need. Oh, that's right. And they also did a location hit D20. So the custom dice that were produced were, colors for the mega corporations, a 2D20 or a D20 hit location, and then the D6. I think just dark symmetry dice is what they're calling them. Yeah, dark symmetry dice. So this is the 2D20 system. So just to catch you up really quick, you're always rolling 2D20 for any test, and then that roll, like what you're trying to get are successes, and so successes are over a certain target number, but they are also the lower you roll is based on some of your character's abilities will give you multiple successes, and any natural 20s give you multiple successes as well. So most things, a very basic thing is 1 or 2. Very easy is 1 success. Something very normal difficulty is 2, but you may have 3 or 4 successes required, which you cannot roll. You can roll if you roll natural 20s on 2D20. So that's where the points systems come in, and we'll take a look at those as they come up. Yeah, so hit locations. So here we go. So there's the cover of, what is that, first edition? Second edition. There's the second edition wraparound cover. So we're already seeing some Paul Bonner goodness. And yeah, it's hard to, just look not not to compare. It's not fair, but look at how that pulls you in. Oh, I get. I guess that was supposed to be a known character. That expression kind of blew me away a little bit. But yeah, I guess we are looking at that was supposed to be Mitch Hunter. I don't know. That's rough. Yeah, capital. Yeah, or not. Yeah. So yeah, maybe that was supposed to be. The expression was terrifying. But look at this already. I mean, we've got just a really great. So the front, we've got the heroes and the Brotherhood. I don't know if you'll consider them heroic. And then we've got all of the nemesis on the back. But it's just it's hard. I will get off that topic right away. So the things that you're going to have to be keeping track of in the 2D20 system is Chronicle points and then a Dark Symmetry pool. And Dark Symmetry, I think it's Doom in Conan and Threat in a lot of the other games, and that it's an economy that the game master can use to add complications, to bring in reinforcements, to make the characters' lives more difficult. And the more they spend in one single spend, like the larger amount that they have available, the worse things they can kind of summon or they can do to you. And the Chronicle points, though, are things that can be spent by the... I guess Momentum wasn't here yet. Yeah, so sorry. So I'm confusing a later version of the system. So Momentum, we're using Chronicle points. So Chronicle points usually have 3 to 5 at the start of each session, and those are spent to give you successes or to avoid rolls or to do things that... so some people don't like that ability to kind of just like leapfrog over difficulties or complications that the GM is putting in your way. So it's kind of the more you fail at things, the more of this dark symmetry that you're generating, and the more successes that you have, and the better that you do, the more Chronicle points that you have to spend to kind of make things easier for you. So so it's an economy that kind of goes back and forth, and it's supposed to, I think a suggestion is the dark symmetry points, the pool should be kept not behind the GM screen, but actually in front of it, so the players have some idea of how bad things could get to help them make a little decision. And it builds the tension. It means that the final showdown, the GM is going to be able to kind of tune it to be as difficult as possible, so to keep things being more and more complicated. And as the players fail their rolls, their skill rolls, it keeps giving more options. So talking a little bit about the setting, they discuss diesel punk and techno fantasy as the kind of classic descriptions, and here's their descriptions of the time period. So these are the eras that the books kind of delineate in the history, and the kind of eras that you can play in. So the Dark Symmetry era is the before the fall of technology, where things just start going bad. So there's kind of clues that things are not quite right, and the Dark Symmetry, and then the fall happens during this era. And the original, so the first setting is basically Luna City on the moon. So that was the first place in this setting that was colonized, and where they started to leave the Earth, and then the mega corporations terraformed other planets and just in the solar system and just left the Earth behind. And then there was a bit of a conflict between those that left and those that remained. And then so the Dark Legion era is everything that the first Chronicle leads up to. So the Dark Legion era begins when the forces of the Dark Legion are released. And, so this is where Siege of the Citadel happens, where the board game, when Warzone, the miniatures game, happens. This is when everything is going to hell, because the corporations are pitted against each other, but they kind of have a truce. They call a truce just so they can fight against the threat of the Dark Legion that is headed towards them. So that's where you get the full range. So everything, Cybertronic has come into existence. The Brotherhood is at their full power. The cartel is formed. and you have basically all the players of the system are playing in the Dark Legion era, which is probably the most common, like what everybody knows or thinks of this setting as. So this is the earlier era, the Dark Symmetry era, which will give you the chance to play like lower powered, detectives, police officers, corporate espionage can happen during this time, but things are going wrong. You can basically play as less than a Doom Trooper or a less powered freelancer. Dark Legion era is when, they're kind of the rise of the Doom Trooper, and when everybody is fighting the Dark Legion, hence the name. And then Dark Eden is the kind of the return, the awareness that things have come back. So it's centuries later, but the Earth has recovered, and so there are things left behind, and people with a grudge against the other planets, the mega corporations, the other planets in the system, that have a grudge about what they did to the Earth when they abandoned it. And so Dark Eden is the kind of the last setting that happened before the original company running publishing the game went out of business. So the Doom Trooper card game, the miniatures game, Warzone miniatures game, and then also the tabletop RPG all just kind of cut off with the Dark Eden. And it's frustrating because Dark Eden was a really compelling setting because people were wondering, what was going on back on Earth, and this gave you a chance to kind of play a Dark Sun version, like using a D&D analogy. Dark Eden is kind of the Dark Sun equivalent for Mutant Chronicles, because the mega corporations are there as monitoring, and we have the tribes of Old Earth, and the tribes of Old Earth are who survived the dying days of Earth and who rose to power. So they're basically warring tribes that are fighting over what's left on Earth. But Modiphius added a little wrinkle to Dark Eden that makes it more playable and it gives Old Earth a faction that can actually leave Old Earth successfully. But it complicates the story a little bit and is a little frustrating to some people because it may contrast with your sense of like what this setting is. They're a little too powerful and a little too convenient. I don't know. There's a lot of different arguments here. So the timeline. So the third edition is expanding on previous versions of the setting by using these three distinct time periods. So the Dark Symmetry, as they're saying, is an exciting time to play, the first appearance of everything. And so that's where the quick start is based. There's a free quick start adventure that, of course, they always include in the Kickstarter, the Dark Starter, the Kickstarters. So the quick start is set there, and as well as the beginning, that leads you into the Dark Symmetry campaign. Second period is Dark Legion era, so the fans will recognize this. This is Warzone and the original role-playing game setting. And the final period is the Dark Eden, where they're looking at the height of the conflict as it was happening, I think, centered around Earth. So previous versions of the role-playing game began to explore this period, but they will finally answer some questions the setting raised, and maybe not in a satisfactory way. That's the real difficulty with how the game got cut off, how the lore and the setting got cut at that time. There's questions that people needed answered, and if you fill that stuff in, it does destroy some of the mystery and kind of weakens some people's favorite kind of players in the factions, I guess, in the game. So humanity. Humanity is divided into a number of factions, and then, of course, opposing the malevolent legions of the Dark Apostles. So the factions are basically the corporations, and the factions that aren't corporations would be the Cartel, Luna PD, the Brotherhood, and White Star. So they're not, they don't trade on the stock market. They don't have investors. They don't have a corporate structure. But they are products of this setting that, that rose to kind of make it so the corporations didn't tear each other apart during the first and second corporate wars. So, yeah, they give you background for all of this in the book. So freelancers. Freelancers are those who, for one reason or another, have left the service of a corporation and struck out on their own. Some do it because they become frustrated with the corporate obstinacy and blindness when it comes to the threat of the Dark Legion, and some because they're on the wrong side of the political games or above their pay grade, and others were just motivated by the entrepreneurial spirit or simply desire to adventure more. So whatever the reason, life of a freelancer is hard. Stripped of the safety net of the net the corporations provide, they're dependent for off-the-book work from shady corporate executives, contracts with the Luna PD or the cartel, and charity work with the Brotherhood. What they lose in terms of safety is made up in freedom. So this was the type of character that you played in the previous two versions. You're always playing a freelancer, and you created a freelancer. There were rules for Doom Troopers. There was also rules for heretics. You could play a cult member or a heretical, a corrupted someone corrupted by the dark symmetry in later books. But basically, you're playing a freelancer. So it allowed you to kind of get to as much of the setting as possible, but it's a very similar type of thing. You were kind of always, taking jobs and doing things for, like they said, the corporations or the Brotherhood or other situations. And so the Dark Apostles, and this is something I want to do. I have a book that's on the way. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get here, but it is the complete history of Target Games and how Mutant Chronicles evolved from the what is now kind of known as Mutant Year Zero. So the original post-apocalyptic RPG Mutant, that was Swedish RPG, and then also the the later game. I can't believe I'm totally blanking on this. And then another RPG created by the same company that you were basically playing in a world of demonic invasion. So the demons. Oh, this is so pathetic. The demons that arose from those two settings. Oh yeah, that's right. Modiphius doesn't publish that, do they? Just a second. I can't believe. Let's see. I get a PC RPG stuck in my head that's blocking my ability. So it's so the interesting thing about the origin of Mutant Chronicles, it's the same canon of demons that came from this earlier setting. And let's see if I can get Cult. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. So the Cult RPG, the first earlier editions of that, their canon of demons is who invades the solar system and becomes the Mutant Chronicles. So you have this wonderful fusion in the evolution of this game of mutant, a post-apocalyptic survival, RPG, and this demonic invasion in modern times RPG, and they kind of combined a lot of their influences. So the pantheon of demons come from Cult, Kult. And so you have Ilion, Wovij, Semi, Algaroth, and Dimnogonus. And a little bit similar, like I think people draw comparisons. So Algaroth is similar to Khorne in another setting. Dimnogonus is similar to Nurgle in another setting. And I won't go into any more of that. But I don't think, there was a lot of influence, but I think it was much more parallel thinking than a lot of people would admit, because these games are developed very close to the same time. So unless they had very good spies in both of these companies, between Games Workshop and Target Games, I think that it's just there were such similar influences from other science fiction settings, and a lot of the ideas were becoming very similar. And I think just the fact that they stuck with a smaller scale shows that it's not just aping, it's not aping what 40K was trying to do. So yeah, and you also have the heretics, and so you can also play in this version as well. You can play as corrupted. You have the dark gifts of your heretical, the apostle that you worship. And so the setting, Earth at there really isn't. I guess you're playing Earth. If you're playing White Star, you're going to be on Earth. But chances are there's much more in the solar system than what's going on Earth. The tribes of Old Earth, which they minimize. That's the thing. I think the thing that people have, the frustration that they have, is the tribes of Old Earth are very minimized in this setting, and White Star is the dominant faction from Earth. And they actually then establish bases and interaction between themselves and the other mega corporations, because the Brotherhood kind of approves of their assistance, fighting the Dark Legion. And then so here's the inner system, or the inner world. So that's everything up until the asteroid belt that we saw on that. So like right before Jupiter, and then of course Imperial pushed a little bit further and colonized the moons of Jupiter. But the further that you go, the worse things happen. And so things go terribly wrong once we reach Pluto, and once we discover another planet the other planet being Nero, which is the surprise planet outside outside our solar system, but actually outside and inside at the same time. So this is a nice summary of the relationships between the different corporations. So it's kind of a color-coded little way to see like who is okay with each other, like who is in conflict and who is not in conflict. Where's the key to this? So the green is a good relationship, blue is neutral, and red is bad. So you can see the conflicts very easily in the relationships between the various corporations. And just as a quick overview, capital is basically the Americas, and so very capitalistic, and they were the most aggressive. They first colonized the moon and then moved to Mars, and very aggressive. Bauhaus is kind of Scandinavia, Germany, and other parts of Europe, and so they're the builders. They're the ones who invented the terraforming technology. Mishima is Japan and surviving Asia, and so they use the kind of culture of shogunate Japan, which they informs their corporate structures and their kind of honor system and everything, and also is the reason that they kind of pull away from what the other corporations are doing. Imperial is Britain and the Commonwealths remaining, but they still kind of remain divided by clans. But their conquistadors are the who is most responsible for investigating the solar system, and also like kind of stumbling into the hell. And the newest mega corporation, the one that springs up like right previous to the Dark Legion time, the beginning of the Dark Legion time, is Cybertronic. So there's a fall of technology caused by the dark symmetry. So anything that's a thinking machine has to be abandoned because it's capable of being corrupted by the dark symmetry, and so it's not reliable, and all it does is serve to corrupt humanity and destroy it. So basically there's a war against the machines that is not robot. You're not fighting robots. You're actually just fighting the corruption of anything, any computer-based or any chip-based technology. So that's what's responsible for the diesel of the diesel punk, is they need to kind of roll things back to a safer, more mechanical, analog, physical based technology. And they never go as far in some other settings of like using human, well, I guess they do in some sense, but they don't rely on like the slavery of, human kind of bizarre cybernetic combinations. But that's not the thing that does emerge, though, is a corporation that is all based on uncovering all of this technology that was abandoned. So we're talking about like 1,000 years ago that technology was abandoned, so it's very forgotten. And Cybertronic goes back and kind of with the power, finding an ability, they find a power that can deny the influence of dark symmetry. They go back to embrace technology from the past. And so they're the most technologically advanced, and that means no one trusts them because they have no idea how any of this is possible anymore, and it must be corrupted. So as you can see, I guess people are not, Bauhaus. Oh, that's right, because the source, the origin of Cybertronic is actually Bauhaus, the money and banking from Bauhaus. But it's only Imperial and Mishima that are in direct opposition to Cybertronic. But everyone is suspicious of how they could possibly exist. And yeah, it's interesting. Then White Star. So the setting basically says that during the dying days of old Earth, Russia went deep into, and similar to Metro, the Metro setting, Metro 2033, the setting where the subway tunnels during the Cold War that were built in the Soviet Union were intended also to be bomb shelters. So and just help people survive nuclear apocalypse. And so that keeps getting included in other fiction, and it's included here because White Star, basically is the survivors that fled to the tunnels of Soviet Russia, and then emerge. And their leader, the Tsarina, has then a connection back. So that it's a new character that is then connected back and is involved in the deep lore in maybe an unsatisfying way for some people. So White Star is basically Russia, and they're the survivors. They're still based on old Earth, even though some of them they do establish like barracks and things on the moon. But they're still they're the dominant faction and basically the Earth faction. And then the cartel is what the Brotherhood established as basically who negotiates between the mega corporations when things break down, when corporate decency breaks down. And they are the ones that also basically organize the Doom Troopers. And the Doom Troopers are a little bit like they take the best. They take the best from each of the mega corporations, the best fighters, and heavily equip them. So they're not like insanely genetically enhanced like Space Marines are. They're kind of like the Death Watch. They're the best of the best of the of all of the different groups, and they work together to fight the Dark Legion. So that's the purpose of them. So kind of orchestrated by the Brotherhood. They try to have all the corporations cooperate in their work. So the Doom Troopers are the Space Marines of this setting and are the kind of product of the cooperation assisted by the cartel. And then another thing that they included a lot more of in here, which gives you lower powered characters to play at the very beginning, is the Luna PD. So during the Dark Symmetry setting, the Luna PD is kind of the main focus because they're trying to control what's going on. They're the first ones to see the corruption spreading through the inner worlds by the Dark Symmetry. So Luna PD is kind of on the front line of, and they're working against the cults and things that they don't even know are like what these cults are worshipping or anything yet. The cults of the dark influence. And here's more. So here's the because they just showed the mega corporation interaction, and here's how people relate to both the Brotherhood. So Mishima religiously opposes the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is very suspicious of Cybertronic, and then the cartel, Cybertronic, and Imperial don't cooperate as well with the cartel. And then Luna PD, I don't know, interesting. Mishima and I guess because they're just opposed. Luna PD is kind of would be a more capital and Imperial assisted, everything cooperating on Luna, which would not be Mishima or Bauhaus. All right, so here's their timeline, and this was basically what served as the early structure for the complete Mutant Chronicles. They kind of give you a breakdown of things, and here is where things get a little sticky. You can see these Game Master references. So through the timeline, they have little notes that provide background. It's things players shouldn't know, and it fills in some of the gaps and some of the motivations, and really lets you know about what's going on behind the scenes with a lot of the major events of the Mutant Chronicles in this chronology. But you shouldn't share this. Like, it should be discovered. Like, you can make, so if you're doing an original campaign that you're writing yourself, these are a lot of mysteries that could be uncovered, and so it provides a lot of really interesting hooks and things for what the players can investigate and what they can discover. But yeah, this is not included obviously in the player guide when they go through the chronology, a bit of the setting. They don't give you these, and they should be ignored by the player because they spoil a lot, and they also maybe fill in things a little more than they needed to be. They destroy some of the mysteries of the setting by over explaining and over connecting things, which is too bad, because I think that's leaving holes in your setting allows people that are playing those games to make it their own and fill in those blanks and customize things in a way that's satisfying to them, or in a way that they've discovered organically through gameplay, and that's really fun. So yeah, it's a little bit too much information, so it's something you can kind of delete, because it is your version, it is your Mutant Chronicles, and so if you don't like White Star, they don't have to exist. If you don't like how some of these things connect, they don't have to connect that way, because it's your Mutant Chronicles. That's the great thing about tabletop RPGs, is you aren't stuck with things. I mean, it may require, if you're going to use published adventures, to do a little bit more editing. It's going to be a little more work to make sure things don't connect or they make sense. So you do have to do a little bit of work in that way, but yeah, it's entirely possible to make it your own. So you shouldn't be too offended by things that are included in published campaign books and things, or even source books, because you can delete anything you want. Making it your own, I think, is the most interesting part of how people play, because people don't even play the game exactly the same way. How they use mechanics is always a little different. So to enjoy how it becomes personalized with your game group. So we're starting in the late 22nd century, I guess. Late 21st century is when things start to go sideways. And we have the major events culminating in the Exodus. So the Exodus is the corporations have already decided, yeah, Earth is gone, we're going to bleed it dry, let's get out of here. They've terraformed planets in advance. They leave behind the useless people, they take the useful people with them, and bad things happen to the people that are left behind, because the Earth is not going to let them go. So the Earth, the people left behind on Earth try to stop it. They try to threaten, basically using Luna as a target. They try to threaten the mega corporations that have left. There's retaliation, or there's, advanced strikes that happen, and that shuts down the Earth. And so, yeah, the Earth is just out of the picture for a while. So then we have this golden age of man, that basically technology is at its peak, and space travel and everything is completely at its peak. There is no suggestion of what's happening. Any corrupting forces haven't taken enough control, and mankind is at this peak of its development. And so at this time is when Modiphius brings in White Star. So this is when the Dark Eden starts to awaken, and White Star becomes this dominant force on the Earth. Then we move into the the bad time. So by 2480 AD, we have the artifact. So the Imperial conquistadors are traveling to the farthest end of the system and arrive on Pluto, and they find something, and they touch everything, and that leads to terrible things. So an event called the Big Scream basically is the dark symmetry kind of casting itself, the release of the dark symmetry, and the corruption of everything. So this precipitates the fall of technology. So, like I was saying, it's the war against the machines, where you're not fighting anything. It's just everything becomes useless because it's all tainted with this corrupted force. The dark symmetry makes everything unusable and forces, basically centuries of technology to be rolled back, and this kind of golden age to be surrendered, or else everyone has to submit to the death by dark symmetry. So that means space travel. Faster than light space travel and things are no longer possible. So the rifts are discovered as a way to travel. They're kind of holes, jump gates in the system, but very similar to the corruption. What is it? The immaterium, the warp of 40K. They're connected to something that humans don't understand. They're like, wow, isn't this convenient? We can jump back and forth, and they create rift drives that help them jump through the rifts. To then, even though their technology is reduced, they can still navigate between planets. But when they're doing that, they're making things worse. The dark symmetry that they thought they resisted by abandoning technology is actually present there as well. So then we get to the first corporate wars, the first time that they start attacking each other. The brothers, the Duran brothers, the three Duran brothers, which emerge and are connected. They emerge from an old Bauhaus family, and they emerge, and Nathaniel becomes the first cardinal. So that is the establishment of the Brotherhood, and the kind of reset of the calendar, and the unification of the corporations against this influence that they're saying is coming. And no one is believing it at first, but they're saying what tore our technology apart is actually coming for us. And that's when we have the next stumble upon where Nero is discovered. And Nero's a little strange because it's a planet that's like in another dimension, but also here. And so it is a gateway for the Dark Legion. So the another artifact is, or no, I think it's a gate. So a gate is discovered on Nero by the conquistadors, the Imperial conquistadors. And that awakens the, awakens the Dark Legion and Ilion. And so here it comes. So the Dark Legion war happens and things start to corrupt. And we have the first appearance of all of the Dark Apostles, and then as coordinated by the Brotherhood, the Venusian Crusade, which defeats the Dark Legion, but also means the death of the first cardinal, Nathaniel. And there's some great digital paintings to kind of see, what the undead legionnaires would look like. And that's the terrifying thing of the Dark Legion, is similar to the White Walkers in Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire. Your allies, your soldiers that are fallen, are then reincarnated. Either they're taken away to a Dark Citadel and experimented with to make them something even worse, or they just rise again to fight against you. So that's why you see a lot of the necromutants and the the undead legionnaires looking, having the equipment of the corporations, because they are the corpses of the fallen soldiers. And so we get more cardinals and more fighting. And eventually, so there's another rise of dark symmetry, and then we have the birth of Cybertronic. So, very desperately, humanity is fighting against the Dark Legion, and suddenly appears through kind of market manipulation and the wealth of Bauhaus. Cybertronic appears, and they have uncovered technologies that can be used and that are free of the Dark Symmetry's taint. So they join the fray and are very distrusted, and that also kind of leads to the suspicion, and everything leads to, again, a second corporate war. So there's a second war between the corporations, and Dark Citadels are still being discovered. So there we are, finally in the Dark Legion era, where the second Dark Legion war occurs. Everything starts to come back in full force, and that's where the setting for Warzone and everything the previous RPGs are set. So this is all of the kind of things you can play in that are Dark Symmetry up to Dark Legion. So that's the whole first chronicle. But there are actually 8 chronicles, so there's a lot. There's a lot in this setting that has never been uncovered. So everything that I just ran through really quick is what our lore series covers. The 90 minutes of lore covers that, and that's the first chronicle, first of 8. So here's an example of, so here's Alistair Collins, a private investigator, and these are the kind of things that can happen during Dark Symmetry, which is basically just, private detectives investigating mysterious murders and cult members. So a little Cthulhu, you're almost like an investigator in a Call of Cthulhu game, but you're not dealing with Cthulhu mythos, you're dealing with the demons of the cults in the cult RPG setting. So those 5 demons that we talked about. 4 demons that we talked about at the beginning, plus Algorath. So here is the thing that you shouldn't read it all. So here's the reference for all those notes. These are the timeline secrets that link everything together. It might be fun to do a lore video of this because this is really interesting, juicy stuff, but it's a little too much. It feels a little bit too much in the blank. So we'll skip this, skip this, skip this. So that's what all those notes referred to. And so the core mechanics of the 2d20 system, we talked about it a little bit. So the skill tests are always 2 d20s that are rolled, and successes are over a target number. Let's see. A task is affected by several elements. So your attribute, your skill, and then bonus successes and difficulty. And then the attributes are, agility, skill, and strength. Real kind of basic identifiable. Then you have skills and expertise. Expertise, that's what it's called. That adds to that, but gives you a chance for multiple successes. And here are the Dark Symmetry dice. So they're d6s where 1 and 2 are positive, are results that you pay attention to. 3, 4, and 5 are nothing. And a 6 has the Dark Symmetry icon. So here's what that looks like down here. So Dark Symmetry icon gives you a success and a special effect, and then 1 and 2 is 1 or 2. And so you're rolling, maybe 3d6s for the damage of your pistol. And if you get a 1 or a 2, then you total those up. And if you get a Dark Symmetry, I think that is a success, but it also gives you a special effect. So if your weapon has a special effect, like a burst or corrosion or some sort of special thing that can be triggered, that is what triggers them. So you roll these d6s only for very specific situations, usually things like damage. So weapon qualities and special rules become triggered by that Dark Symmetry symbol. So focus, success and focus. So focus is something that you can add kind of like expertise or skill levels. Skill ranks, in some other, like D&D, some of the other role-playing systems have this rank that what this will do is if you roll a 1, a result of a 1 or a 2 will generate additional successes. So more focus means that a 1 and a 2, or a 1, 2, and a 3, or a 1, 2, 3, and a 4, depending on your level of focus in that specific skill. So it makes you, and if you're better at science, that means you have a better chance of rolling those multiple successes. And that's what it's all about, is as many successes as possible. Because, most of momentum does, it is in the system as well. Momentum is what's generated. And so this is the thing that adds to the kind of cinematic action and pulp of this 2d20 system and what they're really trying to do here. So momentum are these points that can be spent. And I think I was conflating Chronicle points and momentum, but momentum are spent. They're this thing that's generated from additional successes. So you can either spend successes over what you need for additional damage or some, extra kind of fancy success. You can kind of describe an amazing success that you've had, or you can bank them as momentum, and then you have a kind of a menu of things that you can spend momentum on, which is, I think, additional dice and things like that. So for the skill rolls, let me see. Let me just go back really quick. Yeah, hoping for low results. That's right. So you're trying to roll under. I'm sorry, you're rolling under stats. So you don't want to roll a 20. And I think if you roll a natural 20, that is a complication, or it generates dark symmetry points. So you're rolling under and you're rolling low. That's why focuses are 1, 2, 3, 4, because those are your multiple successes. And so here are the other chronicle points are the other thing. So momentum is this thing that accumulates, but it only exists for when you're in a scene, and it just means that as characters are doing well, it's kind of inspiring other characters, or it's a thing that's shared in the party's pool. So you generate momentum and other players can spend that. So like you successfully shoot at an enemy, and somebody else in your group, then the next person in the initiative order, sees that and is inspired or motivated, so they can actually take some of that momentum and spend it to make it even more possible for them to succeed. So it can kind of snowball your successes from early additional successful skill rolls. All right, and the chronicle points are the kind of the thing that can ignore what's going on. Similar to inspiration. I think they work a lot more like inspiration, but you have a lot more of them. It's not just one point that comes and goes. It's 3 to 5 points that you can spend. You can never have more than 5 at any time. And there's ways to, so chronicle points can give you auto successes, give you an additional action in your round, or recover from wounds. And momentum can be spent to give you examples, a variety of additional effects, but it will help. And then the dark symmetry points are generated, and you can even in some situations you can even choose to, I really want to succeed at this, so I will give dark symmetry points to the GM to succeed. So succeeding at cost, basically. So the GM can spend the dark symmetry points on a repercussion. They can improve the odds of a skill test for the enemies, and then voluntary failure. That's the thing I was talking about. Can automatically generate success. So they can spend dark symmetry on activating NPCs, interrupting what the PCs are doing, and triggering complications. And the more you spend, the worse it gets. There's a simple, they're simple examples. All right. Yeah, and they have some nice, just like the previous books, not as detailed, but they have some, a little fiction, like little colored fiction that adds to the setting, or kind of gives you an idea of what things would be. And here is the life path. So this is a way, similar to, I think, what Traveler first did. I think that was one of the first games to do it, where you can kind of give a history to your character and everything that kind of fill in the blanks in every part of their life, and push it as far as you want. But in some situations, I think in the Infinity game, because you can be regenerated as a clone, basically, you can die during character creation, and so that was the thing I think Traveler first perfected. Or maybe not perfected, but implemented. So here is the attributes: agility, awareness, coordination, intelligence, mental strength, personality, physique, and strength. And so the life path is it's all, I think you can either do it randomly. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can use a point buy, or you can roll on tables. And rolling on tables sometimes gives you really out of control random results that don't make a lot of sense, and it takes a lot of stretching of narrative and kind of you're bringing things together in a weird narrative way. It's pretty difficult. So player decisions. So you're given 5 life points at the beginning to help you navigate your personal history, and each life point has a specific effect on a table that you're rolling on. So a player decides before each decision decides whether or not they're going to spend the life point to get the result they want or roll. And you can't spend it after the roll. So yeah, if you have specific ideas or really want to head in a certain direction, like you want your character to be very science oriented or very combat oriented, you can use those life points to kind of force the direction. So choosing kind of a fork or a branch, choosing that so you can get a better result. Yeah, and then there's also just a kind of a point buy, which is very common to give people that decision. So your first decision is attributes. And yeah, so you're rolling. The second decision is your birth faction. And it gives you skills, talent, language, and then a faction event. And so the events will also give you different abilities or different quirks to your character. Social status is the third. Environment, and again, you're gaining attribute points, skill bonuses, equipment, and resources. Education, more attribute points, skills, career picks, and equipment. 6 is your primary career path, or education, primary career path, so more skills and focus. And iconic career. So you may spend your life point to resist. So this gives you your signature skill and talent and equipment. And the 8th is the customization. So you get 2 chronicle points, and you may convert them into life points if you want to spend those to kind of push things other ways, or get that strength up, or get your intelligence up to make things work better. It determines your starting mental wounds, and can give you skill increases. So here are the tables that give you your faction and your heritage. So just basically all of the all of the random options that you can take, and a little bit, and this is all in the player's book too, a little bit of kind of what you would be choosing. So just as an example, so these are corporate laws. Oh yeah, so as a citizen, like the laws that you would be following. I see. Right. So your faction, the language that you're giving, the skills, and the talent based on where you are. And I guess, one of the choices is actually freelancer. So you belong to no faction. You're above the fray. And so, here we are, tables and tables of these results. And, and giving you some background. And hopefully, if you're working with your GM, you're like, I don't really want this to be my grandfather's pistol. Can this be my brother's or something? You can work to tailor the story to what you want, as long as it makes sense, that it gives you the equipment or attributes or skills that work, your assets and your earnings. So it does kind of build up, and sometimes you end up with things much higher, or you're getting a lot of bonuses in one place that you weren't really expecting. But it can be fun, and it's a fun process. I think for a session 0, or like a character creation session, this can be really fun, and especially if you're having people choose different factions and then figure out how they would possibly ever be working together and how they got all of their skills and things. I think the early version of this life path system, you do end up with some odd combinations, like you were born to a royal family, but then turned to a life of crime on the streets, and then you became a pilot. It's like it can jump around a little bit if you're doing it like totally random. If you're doing things totally randomly, grew up on the streets, technical training, rural, colonial education, clerical education, teenage draft, or pick from table A. These sometimes don't logically lead into each other as well as you might like. And here's the bonuses that you get from your different job choices. And each of those, of course, is dependent on your faction. And so it's a bit of a long process, but I think like working through it together and kind of like, I'll go this way, you go that way to build your party, I think would be useful. And these are nice. These remind me of the marker drawings, the marker and then the kind of the washes, or the blocked grayscale that were in the original books. They may even be some of the original drawings, just computer colored. I think they are actually, but some of those original marker drawings got a little color treatment. And then there's some aping that style. And of course, you're definitely going to have to decide on what era you're playing in, because you don't want to play a newspaper reporter, invading a dark citadel, unless you're in it for the photos. But yeah, tables and tables and tables, and like they said, you can spend those points. So there's a nice classic, Paul Bonner. You can spend those points to kind of get your choice from each of the tables. Oh, this is nice too. They're showing you the different jobs or different roles, and then saying what era they can actually play in. So Inquisitor wouldn't arise yet during the early Dark Symmetry. Same with the Mystic. Like, these things don't exist yet. So these Brotherhood roles haven't been established yet, because the Brotherhood hasn't risen. So they give you an idea of like in which setting you're playing in, what is available. So murderers and acquisition agents are available in all three eras. And so you get a little bit of a mix art-wise. Like, this is obviously new art, and this is classic Blood Berets art. But they go through and give you, nice options, the very thematic equipment and everything to really, reinforce your character in that setting. And then, there's very White Star characters. You can see the Russian and kind of Siberian explorer influences. Yeah, there's a classic Luna PD badge on the, I don't know, a pauldron, kind of the version of a pauldron. Yeah, so a ton of examples from all of the different jobs you can take. And just trying to make things work together. So it may be up to the GM to actually restrict, not only by setting choices, but restrict, kind of what you can choose from to make things, work in the setting. All right, so where are we? Oh, yeah, so experience and play rewards. Yeah, so Chronicle points are your short-term rewards, and then experience is, so they do have an experience system that lets you level up, so you can invest the points into attribute improvement, skill improvement, talent acquisition. Here's all that. Oh, here's a willpower talent tree looks. Skills and talent. So your signature skill is the one that you can advance the most, right? So you're allowing for an expertise of 5 and a focus of 5. So that means 5 and under is, multiple successes. So, just kind of give you an overview of everything. This is all of the how skills and focuses for skill checks work. And it's not too, I think once you kind of get your head around it, and we did a nice overview of that for I think both Conan and all the previous 2D20s that we played, Star Trek and everything. And so it gives you a good idea of like how that 2D makes sense of the 2D20, so you can kind of figure out where to, if you're a real min-maxer or whatever, really where to focus your points and how to spend them in game, to get the most out of everything, out of your rolls and everything. So the basic skill roll dynamics. Oh wow, yeah, and all of your different abilities. So we'll jump down. Let me see here. I should do a talent. Yeah, these are all the talent trees you can spend your points on. Wow, they really do. So let's see. Yeah, this is like looking through a spell. Oh wait, this is like looking through a list of spells for people that don't want to play Magic users. Yeah, some spot illustrations. Yeah, some of the newer kind of digital stuff. Yeah, so group momentum, banking momentum. Oh yeah, here's the options. Let's see, they do the list of the so spends. So within a cinematic scene, so every time a scene ends, you lose 1 point of momentum from that scene. So it keeps kind of decreasing. The tension decreases as you keep moving further. So in a scene, when you're generating that momentum, is probably when you want to spend it, because that's when you're going to have the most. So for a social encounter, Momentum can be used to make the diplomat divulge information. A tight spot, the characters can are on the run, and they can combination of observation, stealth, or thievery up to this point. So in addition, momentum can be spent to reflect them finding something especially well hidden, so to kind of improve successes. So momentum spends are improve the speed of an action, the quality of an action, or to spend that to assist. So instead of you have to use momentum to contribute. So instead of like some systems are like, well, I will help, and you give them an additional die or something, you actually spend the momentum, and then you that gives them another 1d6 to add, or d20 to add to their attempt. And chronicle points, the big points to spend. So yeah, very similar to how inspiration works. And combat, the willpower test. Let's get to the and the art of light. So basically the magic system is the dark gifts and the art of light. So the Brotherhood perfects this kind of holy magic, and the Dark Legion, or the cultists or corrupted heretics, have dark gifts, and so it's good and bad magic by and breaking it between light and dark. So art of the light. So yeah, this is the basically the magic system, the sci-fi type magic system, but it's very religious based. So it's very it's like demonic and corruption based or religious based. So the different factions in the Brotherhood can have spells that are telekinetic or teleportation, a lot of different kind of mental abilities. So that would be the closest thing you'd get to a magic user is a Brotherhood light user, gift of light. All right. And then their vehicles. So if they do similar, I'm trying to think if they, I think that was newer for Star Trek, where vehicles had were basically navigated like characters. They have movement, and so here's all the vehicle rules and what you're doing when you're attacking. And I'm sure they have hit locations. If characters have hit locations, then they definitely have how to show where things are hit and what that damage affects. So crippling vehicles and everything. So basically everything in the setting of the cars and everything. So as you can see, it's kind of got a early 20th century look, but supplemented. So the look of the cars and things are going to be very pre just World War I kind of era. Very big heavy cars, and especially on Luna, and then some of the aircrafts and things are kind of retrofitted. They have maybe gotten advanced and look more modern, but they're all retrofitted with much older technology. Oh, there we go. Light jets. All right, and spacecraft. Yeah, so spacecraft is a little bit difficult because, like you're saying, it's rift travel. So they don't move faster than light, and they're basically just orbiting around around the planets to protect, to provide like a layer of first defense. So crew, the roles of the crew and everything. So they spell out all of the even the spaceship locations and things. So it is funny, and I guess Cybertronic. Dark Symmetry, you're still dealing with some pretty advanced machines, and then once you get to the Dark Legion after the fall of technology, everything kind of steps back. So they probably have to specify, because some of these more high-tech or advanced ships can't be used throughout the entire setting. All right. And they give you, when they'll name characters, you'll get, they'll be all statted out and give you a little bit of background. Oh, so this is all weapons and equipment. And we'll see. Yeah, and so then all of the different abilities that weapons can have, or they're kind of no, they're not talents, but they're the features of the weapons. Oh, this is nice too. They run through the who's making arms and from what faction they come from. All of the different companies that are the mega corporations, the parent companies, but all these smaller manufacturers that have risen to create weapons and things. Yeah, that's great. And then they do nice illustrations of all the types of weapons, so you get a whole range. Things looking very modern, all the way to wooden stocks and grips. So here's all your stats for your weapons, and of course they also stat out the Dark Legion's weapons as well. So you have very modern, and then very very Dark Eden. But yeah, things get very modern looking and very heavy. Flame weapons and everything. Yeah, we're getting a huge scale now. Rocket launchers. Yeah, so everything's statted out with all of its brass knuckles have a vicious. So if that's triggered, then you get additional damage, or you get an additional effect to a successful attack. Melee weapons. Sorry if I'm going too quick through some of this. And then, based on different factions. Oh, yeah, they actually show you. That's nice. So they show you which faction, these, in the illustrations at least, that these belong to. And probably in the description, in the description as well, like where this would be accessible. So if you haven't had any contact with White Star, there's no way you're going to have any of their, bone swords or kind of signature weapons. And armor. That's an ill-fitting coat. Yeah, so talking about which corporations have which types of armor. And it's really going to vary because, Cybertronic is going to be very different from what they have access to compared to a lot of the other factions. Because they really leaned into the technology, whereas if, White Star, and that might be another reason, is to give you that weird range of, because White Star is going to have very primitive, very old Earth technology weapons, and to kind of contrast that against Cybertronic. That might have been another choice of why they wanted to, but they could have done that with tribes of old Earth. But I guess it is just the they made the best tribe ever. And so here's more equipment, cybernetics. Yeah, so as you can see, the things are well illustrated. I like that there's so much. They do a lot of spot illustration. This seems to be disappearing. I guess because it costs so much. But more and more game books aren't giving you this little, piece of the flavor and what a character would look like, how they would be equipped, in some dangerous situation. I like that exists so much here. All right. And here's an adversaries on. Here we go. Dark Souls and the Apostle. So here's the whole discussion of what the apostles, how the apostles function, and how their all of their servants, how they're powered. And so here's the breakdown of the dark apostles, the symbols that represent each of them. All 5 of them, and how they're powered. So basically, they have the manipulation of disease, manipulation of violence and blood, or the corruption of Ilion, I think, is the so kind of void travel. And she's also the closest to the dark soul. So she has the most probably dark gifts and dark symmetry. So anybody aligned with her are going to be the most powerful in the kind of dark magic. And there's a nice example of the Dark Citadel. So here's the Citadel of Algaroth that was on Mars. So nice, you see, kind of the architecture that looks like the symbols of everything, and how and so that the citadels are formed by these black spike-like ships that are just crashed into the surface of the planet, and they just kind of grow in this organic. They're organic but technological at the same time. They grow as kind of techno-organic thing, yeah, similar to like a look of, you know, like an alien, the titular alien of the Aliens movies, how that looked both technical but also very organic in the shape. So that is the kind of look of them, because they are the corruptors of the technology, so they can wield the technology as well. And then description of the Dark Legions and how, the Nephirites and everything between the different. So those are kind of their captains, or their highest ranking or most powerful warriors that run the armies. Yeah, that's a really great Ilion form. Huntress of the Wild. That's a great illustration. Nice. Yeah, so, and a lot of these Nephirites and things were all depicted in the Warzone game. We've got a lot of miniatures of early versions of a lot of these types of characters. And these are some of the newer, these show up in the earlier versions when mysterious, like, kind of corruption, some of the things that aren't soldiers or warriors, that are more just abstract demons, are what show up in that earlier Dark Symmetry time. So yeah, here's all of the forces of the Dark Powers, and there's the tools of Ilion's forces, and so each of the different apostles have different types of weapons. Oh yeah, here's the first. Here's like necromutants, and then the undead, the centurions. How they look. So you can see they're just kind of scrapping together armor and weapons from who they have defeated. Yeah, there's a really good example too. The undead legionnaires. That's just all just a risen, a dead soldier risen again to fight against the corporations, to fight against humanity. Nice. As a goal. Oh, Razide, where's the oh, yeah, there's no illustration for that. Oh, there he is. There's the Razide. And the Praetorian Stalker. Oh, yeah, I think, just because I've got them zoomed in so far, I'm seeing things too early. And all those dark weapons of Algaroth. Yeah, there's some nice, really nice illustrations. So the black ships, that's right. So this spiky, like, ship, this is a depiction of how they crash into the surface and then grow from that destruction. And here's our corrupt, diseased demon. Yeah, they've got some really nice illustrations. And if you've got you have basically miniatures for all of these in the Siege of the Citadel board game. Like everything that's done in the setting. That was a real big motivation. Like once we were into this RPG, that was a really big motivation to back the Siege of the Citadel, because they did miniatures for everything that's in here almost. Anything that's major to the setting and major to the different campaigns shows up as a miniature. So that's just crazy. And you saw me open that again and again and again. Nice. Yeah, so I talk about the black rot kind of associated with Demnogonus. And the kind of deceit and lying demon. Nice. Yeah, I'm glad there's a lot of illustration and kind of reinforce the look and feel. That helps much more than is happening recently. Yeah, you're not getting good examples of anything. And just everything is statted out, and you can see. Oh, this is, see, and this is... So these would be opposing forces, and this is what the GM can do with their dark symmetry spends. So they can play their dark gifts by spending dark symmetry points. So that makes them, even more formidable. Oh, there's a corrupt. Ooh, look at that! The television possesses a TV. The Scrambler is possessing a television. Now, there's a lot of in dark symmetry. A lot of corrupted technology and things, that are become unrecognizable. A little bit of fiction. and then Luna. So yeah, Luna is kind of the original first city, the largest and kind of the center of religion and commerce and everything. So it's yeah, during the Dark Symmetry era. Oh, yeah, so there's some of the classic illustrations from the first edition. So what a outpost, a cathedral interior would look like. And the currency is, of course, the Cardinal's crown. So those are the coins that they made. So there's the Brotherhood symbol. Those are the coins that they made for the Kickstarter. That was a really good idea. All right. And Hamburg is the big city for Bauhaus. And, of course, they all have the planet. So, yeah, if you take a look at the lore videos, it covers like which corporations inhabited or took over what planets and who they're kind of fighting over them with. And of course, Luna has all the districts of Luna. Every mega corporation is represented because it's kind of the center of the solar system. So this is describing, yeah, so how space travel and everything works. And you can see, yeah, how long things actually take. So, yeah, Neptune to Pluto, 212 days. So it wasn't easy for Imperial to screw things up as badly as they did the second time. And here's they do a nice map of Luna City. And this is really good to when you're guiding players through the early adventures, moving through which district everything is in, and that apartment building that is the center of the kind of the first fall. And so just like, previous versions. Oh, yeah, here's even illustrations from the previous showing the suit style of the different corporations. And you can tell it's very frozen to kind of, turn of the century. It hasn't gone very much past the 20s or 30s. The big Luna PD badge. Oh, and they also, they did like a cloisonne, like enamel version of this badge for the Kickstarter as well. That was on the web store for a while. An actual Luna PD badge. Don't read the secrets. Oh, wow. Secrets. Yeah, I've got to do a Luna PD, like a short. That would be good for that faction as well. Because that's usually, if you're going to play the pre-gen characters of the Dark Symmetry campaign, it's good to have a grounding. And here's some colored, the previous line work. Good understanding of how Luna PD is structured. So it makes sense to update your characters. And there we go. So now we're going to go through all of the mega corporations. I don't think we don't have to spend too much, but we'll just give you an example. We're using Capital. So they give you kind of the focus and the cause and the flavor of that corporation, how their government is structured, like how they rule, and then what their corporate motivations are, like how they run things, and what where their big industries are and where they kind of lead things. So there's the capital dollar. Nice. And it's just kind of going through all of the different quirks or kind of differences between in the styles. And I love that I don't think they don't really spell it out. Maybe they do. I haven't read through, but I love how the capital forces have keep things that look like football helmets and things as part of their equipment to keep them American football, keep them very flavored to the Americas. And and all the different kind of units and things you can play as, plus the named characters and where they exist on Luna, and then a run through of their diplomacy. So like we saw in that chart, like who they're cooperating with, who they're kind of opposed to, and this gives you kind of the reasons why and spells things out a bit more. So each of the factions is like that, and then they go Bauhaus is next, and names people and goes through their business strategies, everything Imperial, Cybertronic, and then more of that great ink drawings that are now computer colored. And everyone's favorite. So White Star. So I think I've already kind of covered what people's problems are with White Star. So White Star is a very distinctively Russian faction, and there were the Sons of Rasputin. There were which was a very Russian faction for the tribes of Old Earth, and this is just like super Sons of Rasputin, and they are not altered. They are like very humans that survived, and they don't have altered skin or altered appearance, and don't have really extreme views. They're just basically a Russian army survivor that worships a czar, and in this case it's a female czar, a czarina. And the mysterious thing about their leader, though, is like it's been 1,000 years since their emergence, and they still have the same leader, and it's like it's not quite making sense. Is this the same person, or are they replacing the Tsarina, or is our leader being replaced? Because it doesn't make sense that they're living so long, and it's part of the mysteries of the setting. So that connects you to other very long-lived characters in the setting. But it's a little, I think, frustrating for some people because it's a little too easy. That's a nice star with the marbling and the texture. A little too easy, and it ignores some of people's favorite, like the Lutherans and the Templars. Some of those original tribes had such interesting, unique flavor, and White Star is very vanilla Russian. They have some interesting, from different time periods and stuff, like the Bone Hussars and stuff. There's a little bit of interesting flavoring, but it's for some people that like the older setting, and especially the older war game, like they liked in the Doom Trooper card game and in Warzone, they liked the tribes of Old Earth because they set them a little bit more equally as factions with the mega corporations, and it's not the case in this setting, which is not making some people very happy at all. But like I said, it's not impossible. There's a Lutheran. It would not be impossible to remove White Star from this setting. They don't kind of merge them or enmesh them in such a way that you couldn't kind of untangle them out of it, and still have a lot of nice flavor. And then if you played the Dark Eden setting, it's all there as you remember it. And so then talking about the Cartel, some more classic art. That's the first edition cover, right? Yeah. Nice. And the Brotherhood. There's our Cardinal Dominic. Oh yeah, and I like this too. Yeah, they showed I think they've done this in previous books before, but these are very well spelled out. Yeah, so like the Keepers of the Art are have the more gifts of the light. So Distorters, Changelords, Seers are all of the ones that are very heavily powered. Of course, Inquisitors and everybody has some sort of ability, but that faction. Nice. There's Mortificator, Crenshaw. That's such a classic. I mean, see, this is what the cover should have looked like. Very evocative, very, what's going on Luna, in the streets of Luna, the madness that they're up against. Yeah, I really would have loved something that, that weird, had enough of the weird, the time period's all messed up, like they kind of have modern weapons, but the cars and everything are all retro and they're refitted and there's demons everywhere, and that's what the cover needs to look like. All right, I keep saying I'm going to stop doing that. So the Brotherhood, and then of course running through again for the Arrows of Play. I think we're getting to the GM kind of sections, but as we're talking about, this reinforces like what life is like, so it really helps the GM to know what you can and can't do during this era, and how the players are limited, or how they're stressed, or what their kind of motivations would be. Going through each of the corporations during these different times, and how the technology would change. So here's the whole game mastering section. So we won't go through that in too much detail, because I want everybody to be able to watch this, and not only game masters. So yeah, just reinforcing the system, how momentum is used, how you should spend your dark symmetry, and yeah, and then how technology, that's the important thing, is to know how technology functions. All right. Scenes and environments. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, a lot of motivation, or a lot of kind of details about how to make things move, and even more tables. So how to manage travel, all that good stuff. And here we go. Here's our character sheet again. So yeah, they do a nice paper texture. I think there's a printer-friendly version too, included in the PDFs. But they do a cool distressed kind of paper texture. So you've got your location. Yeah, you can keep track of your chronicle points, and you've got also your location, the soak, and then the number of wounds you can take in each of your locations. Oh yeah, and then if you don't have the special D20, then you just roll a regular D20, and on the character sheet shows you where you're hit. And there's keeping track of all your background. Oh yeah, you got to write all that down, don't you? So here's all of your background influences and your traits, talents, and then yeah. Oh, that's right. The last thing is your spells. So that's only going to be for Brotherhood users, and then yeah, a glossary. So there we go. Let me switch back then to the tabletop. All right. So that was the core book, and I mean that's we got through 500 pages, so that was pretty. Oops, that was pretty good. But I wanted to give you kind of an overview of what that is. So for $1 right now, you can get that. You can get that book with the ability to play all of that. Nice. Nice. Yes, great. Gonzalo, hey, how's it going? Yes, Venus, the property of Bauhaus. Yeah, that's where. Did I say? I meant, yeah, Mercury. So yeah, maybe I misspoke when I was rambling. So yeah, Mishima's on Mercury. Bauhaus is on Venus. They all have stakes. They kind of intermingle and have stakes on each other's worlds. Capitals on Mars, and Imperial occupied the asteroid belt, and then some of the moons. And then Cybertronic is kind of sharing Luna amongst other other holdings and things. Yeah, so as you can see, this was everything that we saw. So all of the life path, and your little branching. Oh yeah, and they got all the weapons in here, but just with no pictures. That's great. That's a nice, that's a great thing to do, because then you'll have reference for all of the qualities. That's what they call them. But I was saying, I think, traits of the weapons. Yeah, so that's nice. They took the pictures out, but they give you everything. So this is very useful. So this is the PDF version of this. All your players can have, and then they're not going to be spoiling anything. They can't wander into sections. They can build a character and not wander into sections. It'll screw things up. And so here is the campaign for Dark Symmetry. So this is the earliest phase. So this is like starting on Luna and the beginning of as things slowly are corrupting. And there's that map. There's the map of Luna that we saw in very zoomed in. But so this gives you, I think the quick start rules starts you here. So you're in that first apartment building, and things are kind of falling apart. But each of these campaign books, gives you the series of adventures, and kind of stage by stage as things would progress. And you're basically jumping around. You're not like railroaded through this whole thing, but this is like where you will be going. And I think because you get to the point where you're actually dealing with Doom Troopers, and it's still Dark Symmetry times. So and of course at the end here's your pre-gens, and as you can see, you're dealing with Luna PD and then freelancers. So 3 freelancers and then 3 Luna PD officers for this early investigation. But the Doom Troopers do make an appearance, and that'll be interesting to see how they pulled that off. But just a quick look. They've got a lot of nice spot illustrations to help you like visualize what's going on, as well as little maps to give you an idea of your of locations of things. So yeah, the interesting thing they did with the Siege of the Citadel game is a lot of these areas you can actually use, and they include rules in kind of the conversion. There's like a conversion booklet or ways that they help you to understand how you can play on the grid based game boards that were included in so for basically the combat focused things, like when you're doing boss battles and things, that might be a fun thing to do, is pull out the boards and put miniatures down to represent everybody that's playing, which they have produced. Basically all of those pre-gen characters would have a miniature you could use that would be pretty accurately representing them. And then so some scenes that where you're in specific situations, like the roof of the apartment building or whatever, they actually have those really great boards with nice art that you can use the grids for, to make things a little more, if your players like tactical stuff. If they're not all theater of the mind, they want tactical. So these 3 books are the main kind of content that you get for the 99 cents, and then plus the index, which is the master index of everything. So all of the rest of the books, and character sheets and everything that you're going to need to play. So you're playing the game and you're doing the first part, the first campaign, for 99 cents. So if you want to support the channel, please take a look at that Humble Bundle. The link that's in the description will take you there with our affiliate code plugged in there. So that's 7 items that you get. So those 3 books that I just showed you, plus the quick start, which is that very first adventure, and then the universal index and the character sheets. And what that also is going to get you is 50% off this book. So if you want the physical book, and you can order that from Modiphius for half off. So it's a good deal. This book is usually around like $5, $5 to $7 on Drive-Thru RPG as the PDF, but that's only for this book as a PDF. And right now the bundle gives you all the other kind of supporting stuff for $1. So that's 7 items. So the other bundle, or the next level of the bundle, is 14 items, and that's $10. So $10 you get all of the source books. So this is interesting. Some of them are glossy and some of them are not. So let's go through just what a source book looks like. So as you can see, here's all of my little post-it note markers. So I'm still in the midst and still writing a lot of the complete Mutant Chronicles. So I've marked pages that I need to keep referring back to. So forgive my post-it notes because I'm still heavy in the research. But so this, for example, the Brotherhood with our brother Dominic on there, and this source book will run through the faction. And what this will do also is, if you definitely want to make a Brotherhood character, what's in the core book will just be the basics of what a Brotherhood character can do. This will go into much more detail about the skills and how you would flesh them out, and give you some additional options. There'll be other tables to roll on. You can make more granular kind of specific choices with the characters, and as well as statting out what NPCs would be like in this setting for the GM, and a little more expansion on weapons and things, because the core book was just kind of an overview. So each one of these source books, so look at that art. Why is Bauhaus glossy? I guess they're the fanciest corporation. But so as you can see, so you would want to refer to the source book if you chose to play Bauhaus, because it's going to give during character creation, your life path will have additional options and access. There'll be other equipment you'll have access to, and you can flesh things out more specifically, like which house you're a part of. So you're belong to the Bauhaus faction, but which house within Bauhaus are you allied to, or were you born in? And then this gives you a lot more background about what that house, kind of who the named characters are, where how the house functions, how it connects to the other others. So it'll really help you kind of immerse you in the faction that you chose to do your character in. And capital with the excellent capital artwork in there. Yeah, there's the, oh, that's right. So each of the planets, I think there's like basic maps of everything. Yeah, there we go. There's Venus. So it shows you, yeah, basically like the capital of Venus. And this is just going to be Luna, isn't it? Oh no, that's right. It's the cathedrals. And so here's Mars. So yeah, and so the just gives you more detail, more choices, and connects you deeper into the history of the faction. So it's a useful thing to have based on who you chose. There's the Cybertronic. So here's one of the few kind of updated covers. It's not the classic. Yeah, it's not the classic Coral Beach illustration. I think because they go a little bit with the updated art. They go a little cyberpunk with the setting because it's, you know, cybernetic enhancements and everything. So they do a little cyberpunk in the feel of things. But again, if you're doing a Cybertronic character, this gives you more options and then more details about that world. The Imperial book, you gotta love the Paul Bonner. Oh, and it doesn't wrap around though. That's the only problem. Oh yeah, so here you go. So here's the major asteroids that they've occupied in the cities that exist on those, and a little bit of details about those cities. So yeah, these are great books. I mean, they're not super thick books, but they go so far to supplement. So yeah, 114 pages. So yeah, like less than 120 pages for each of these, but that's 120 pages they took out of, you know, the section of that corporation in the core book. Everyone's favorite White Star. And here's the map. They're basically saying White Star's got all of Russia. And yeah, so everyone is kind of territorially, all the tribes of Old Earth are territorially resisting White Star, if you go for that sort of thing. And yeah, so then more details about how you would play White Star, and I guess, you know, giving you kind of an understanding about how much they exist outside of Old Earth. And then last but not least, Mishima. And here's their Mercury. So yeah, they're the underground, the tunnels underneath Mercury, where Mishima exists, protected from everything. And so going into, yeah, more details in the corporate structure and the types of soldiers that they have. And so yeah, these skill trees I don't think appear in the core book. So without the source book, you don't really have access during character generation to this. Oh yeah, and this is a white mystic. So this is, yeah. Oh, that's right. So they there is another type of power, another type of kind of magic that you can possess that it became a mechanic in the Doom Trooper card game, but the key powers. So you do have, if you're playing a Mishima character, it is the other faction that would have kind of, you know, magic powers outside of the Brotherhood. So they have the key powers for, and that may be something I don't think you can access without this book. So yeah, it's just kind of like how they set up the source books. Yeah, so for $10 you get the original books we looked at plus these, what, seven corporate books. So PDFs for all of this stuff, which gives you like a more, if you're going to do everything from scratch and originally, you're not going to play pre-gens, you're not going to use the quick start as kind of a launching point. This gives you the most detailed everything you need to do to generate characters and do your own campaign, do your own original campaign with you know, what the GM knows of the setting and everything. And then the full bundle, which has a little added amazing bonus. The third bundle has some things that I don't actually have physically. So when they did the Print Lovers bundle, where all of these books came from in kind of one purchase on the Modiphius web store, They didn't have the Venusian Crusade, Dark Eden, or anything included because I think those were produced later. So they weren't part of that original Kickstarter run, and I think that's what they were clearing out, is the Kickstarter books when they did that print bundle. So we have the Dark Legion campaign book. So basically, this is complete character generation, but if you want to go for the full thing, so $18 for the full, everything that they're offering. So it's every PDF that's ever been made for this setting. So here's the Dark Legion campaign setting. So After Dark Symmetry, Dark Legion. So this is, basically, Doom Troopers and Dark Citadels. And what you're probably more familiar with, like this, if you want to play Warzone as an RPG, this would be the setting for that. Then more details for, this is the source book for Luna, so more Luna PD and freelancers. So to give you more details, here's the core of Luna map, spelling out a little bit more, giving you more options for Luna PD and freelance jobs. So additional skills and tables and things, just like the other source books. But these are kind of, I guess they're kind of considering these more advanced choices for factions. And then the cartel. So as you can see, the Doom Troopers. So if everyone wants to play Doom Troopers, you'll play Cartel. And here's the a altered map of Luna City. So possible investigation sites. Oh, that's cool. So already where you're going to be sending your your Cartel Doom Troopers. And they also give you a PDF. And look at how big that art that I don't love is. But they also give you a PDF of this GM screen. So this is, basically all the menus for how to spend the points. So what the points do and how to spend the points. So I'm talking about the Chronicle points, momentum spends, the Dark Symmetry points, and then also critical injury tables. So once you're reduced. Completely on a body part, like what effect that's going to have on you. Yeah, so nice information for the wow, there we go, I like this side better. Information for the GM. And so then also included beyond what I showed you is the campaign for Dark Eden, source book for Dark Eden, a couple of decks of cards. So they have NPC cards and location cards that you can actually use to kind of give you random draws for, or actually, they're statted out characters to be able to, you can either pull them randomly depending on how, how you're structuring your campaign, or you can, just use them to refer to when those characters appear in a campaign or whatever. But a big deck of NPC cards, the mutants and heretics. So if you want to play as a heretic or as a human that's corrupted, the art book that they produced for the Kickstarter, which has got a lot of great stuff. And like I said, the Venusian Apocalypse which was the three-part campaign that they produced for the second edition. So all of that is included. Plus, so one more thing that they added that's pretty it makes it pretty tempting to do the full thing, is there are STL files for 18 of the kind of the named characters. And I think somebody told me that these are actually, let's switch back to the desktop. So here's the so here is I'm doing great here. Let's go. Oh, they won't let me go bigger. So these may be the they don't have the whole selection of them, do they? No. The Protos sculpts for a lot of these named characters, so they don't appear to be the same poses as what they produced for the Siege of the Citadel board game. But it's 18 pre-supported STL files. Oh, here we go. Here's everybody that's in there. So Angelina Drake, Big Bob, Carl, Crenshaw, Laurie, Luna PD Detective, McBride, Arseny, Maria, Steiner, with and without the helmet, Mitch Hunter, Nicodemus, Sean Tatsu, Tetsukage, Valerie, and Vince Diamond. Yeah, Vince Diamond is not Coral Beach. Vince Diamond is who I was thinking of. It's on the cover of the original Cybertronic. So that's very tempting. I mean, it's great that they're giving you access to this, because I think they had these miniatures on the website and they've just been sold out forever. And it may be when they got the license to them and Protoss lost the license that they had access to these. But yeah, so because these are STL files, you can print these whatever size the resolution of the original sculpts will tolerate. So you could print some 54 mil Mutant Chronicles miniatures. So that's what won me over with this bundle. It was very tempting. So here is, so $18 for all 30 things. So this is everything that you get. And so if you only have a few books, or you want everything digitally to be able to reference it, this would be the best way to do it. And it's the best way. Yeah, it was the best way for me to this print bundle, and then this PDF is the best way to be able to give your players access to all this stuff. And then whichever of those levels, 1, 10, or 18, gives you 50% off the core book at their store for a physical book. So that is everything. So this is, 3rd edition. This is Mutant Chronicles 3rd edition. Back to the tabletop. And you're looking at the books that inspired the lore series. So once I started going through these, and then also reading through the older, it's the text of the older books, I think, that really motivated us to want to develop the series out more, so more people had access to this setting and this lore. But this was the origin of it, and now you can get all of this digitally, very cheap, plus STL files. I was really surprised that they're letting those go in a bundle. But that's becoming more and more common, especially with Humble Bundle. They've done a few digital file, like 3D printer, because they're all digital files. So they did a 3D printing only bundle of some various artists. But this is everything for Mutant Chronicles 3rd edition. And there's still kind of rumblings of support for this system, but this is a huge amount. I mean, this is years and years and years that you can play in this world, because you have all 3 of those eras and all 3 of those campaigns. This is basically everything. And it's also all the source you would need to do your own original campaign. If there's things that inspired you from, Doom Trooper or from Warzone that you really wanted to play out as an RPG, this will give you a source for all of that and stats for all of that for the 2D20 system. The other thing that they do also include, and it's only in the top tier in the $18 one, is the core book, this same core book as a PDF adapted for Savage Worlds. So if you prefer the Savage Worlds system and like a more generic pulp system, I think it's a D20 system. I don't know Savage Worlds well, but if it's a system that you would prefer, 2D20 sounds a little fussy. You don't like banking and managing all of those points. It's a little too much bookkeeping for you. I think Savage Worlds will be a more simplified, but still pulpy enough that it'll support the action of this. What is this? Of what these guys are doing. Let's look at something more classic. It'll give you the mechanically simplified, and still let you play everything. So, and you won't also have all the funny dice. I don't think you won't have dark symmetry dice with the locations and everything. So it'll be able to simplify things down a little bit for you if you're interested in, or if you prefer to do that. So the choice is yours. But yeah, that's something that happened. I don't think that happened with the Kickstarter. I think that happened a little bit later, where somebody developed the Savage Worlds conversion for this. So people that wanted to play this setting but didn't like the system, because I've heard, like I said, the Chronicle points allow you to kind of sabotage what the GM is doing and just say, yeah, we're not going to do that. The door just opens. There's a lot of things that you let players overrule the GM, and some people just don't like that kind of disruption in their games. So here, that is your option. But Yeah, so this is a third edition Mutant Chronicles, the 2D20 system that Modiphius did. So they updated the setting, and some people like it, some people don't. The previous books do still exist. All of the source books, if you take a look at Mutantpedia, and you speak Italian, I think there's a lot of Italian text, but if you take a look, you can still find the previous versions of the setting around that'll help you kind of navigate around. If there's ways that they advance the setting that you're not a fan of, this will help you navigate around in that way. And yeah, but I think it's a great setting. It's a great world. And if you don't like 2D20, try Savage Worlds. If you're not a really big fan of Savage Worlds, I think there's a lot of systems that would kind of be plug and play. I could really see somebody doing like a Powered by the Apocalypse version that could get you into these worlds, especially with if you're going to use like pre-gen characters. There's a lot of systems. Fate, I think there's a lot of ways you could convert role play into the system, but the source book, the background is still could still remain all intact, just depending on how much you'd want to fuss with it. But we've had a lot of fun with multiple systems. John Carter, Star Trek, a lot of fun with the 2D20 system. So don't knock it until you've tried it. I mean, if you've only looked at it on paper and said, "Ugh, I'm not liking this," if you find a GM that thinks they've got their head around it, I think it's worth giving it a try, because even though this is an early version of that system, it does work well with kind of escalating action and tension, and giving people a lot of kind of ways to add flavor and flair to actions that they're performing and things. And I think that serves a more cinematic, I think that serves a cinematic type of game. And because they're breaking it up into scenes and having indicating like this is a climax of the action, this is the showdown, this is like the final showdown. A lot of the pre-written campaigns have those kind of structures for different scenes, so that becomes very satisfying. So description. Yeah, I really I can't say enough about this setting. I just fell in love with this and Chronopia are just two of my absolutely favorite settings that just don't get a lot of attention. I mean, Chronopia was I think like the second D&D setting, like original Swedish D&D setting, that now the third, which I believe would be Trudvang Chronicles, is the English version of that. But Chronopia as a dark fantasy setting where it's subverting so many of the things that happen in fantasy and making it brutal and interesting, and not feeling like not feeling like classic Warhammer fantasy or anything, feeling very, very brutal and interesting, and a different twist on just about every one of the factions in that setting are all great. And Heartbreaker did the miniatures for both Warzone and Chronopia for the miniatures game, so they have a wonderful, have a deep place in my heart. But that may be the next lore series, once we start filling in more of the holes for Mutant Chronicles, is try out a Chronopia. And just an overview to get. The thing is, though, it's just like there's the miniatures game, and then there's the background that's all in Swedish for role playing. So there isn't a role playing game in English for Chronopia. So that's the only drawback to that. But that's a really great setting as well. So the Mutant Chronicles 3rd edition, I don't know what's going to happen beyond this. And like I said, in the lore, there's 8 chronicles. So all 8 cathedrals. Am I getting that right? I think it's 8 chronicles. So each cathedral has a chronicle. So the first chronicle that was completed, that goes up to the end, to the Second Dark Legion War, is the one that's inscribed on the walls of the cathedral on Luna. So the original Nathaniel's original first cathedral on Luna is where the first chronicle is written. But each of the other cathedrals in the solar system have an additional chronicle. So none of that has been spelled out yet. So there's still things that can happen, and yeah, I hope somebody gets behind that and really it really runs with some more, and maintaining that same tone and the same atmosphere of a lot of that original setting. It'd be really nice to see this advanced even further. But yeah, so that is everything. So if you'd like to support the channel, please consider clicking that link for the bundle. We just get it like a tiny piece of that. It doesn't change what you have to pay, and you get so much stuff for so little. Like I'm saying, this is about $5 to $7, the digital version of just the core book, and so you get the core book and some support for early campaign play for $1 plus 50% off the physical book. Okay, I'm done trying to sell the bundle, but it would a great way to support us, and that would be excellent. Another way to support us is Patreon. So on Patreon, we have several different levels to support the kind of things that we're doing. Chronicler level to support the lore series for Mutant Chronicles. A weekling level for the weekly that we do, just kind of a rundown of the headlines for tabletop every Friday. And so the website is upturnedtable.com, and if you want to support us on Patreon, that's patreon.com/upturnedtable. And you can follow us on Twitter. We have a Facebook page as well, Instagram, and yeah, just about any social media you can find us there. You can get our podcast on any platform. We'll soon be on Amazon Music, actually. We just applied for Amazon Music for our audio podcast, so the audio podcast will show up there. And I'm considering, I think the audio is clean enough that it would make a listenable audio podcast. So I may put the first Chronicle audio only up on the podcast just to see what kind of reaction it gets. But then that would be a place to always access it if you just wanted to listen to the rundown of that first Chronicle. But yeah, thank you for joining me. This is another, not quite as long as unboxing the Siege of the Citadel, but this was another long run through. So it's a ton of books, and this is my stash. So now you're seeing, this was the origins of the complete Mutant Chronicles, and what I dove into and really inspired me to want to let more people know about the setting, and also give players easy access to videos they can watch that explains to them, this is what happened when, this is who this is, and just have a background that lets them feel like they understand the world that they're in. So future Complete Mutant Chronicles will be, of course, spotlights on all of the mega corporations to give you that background that's included in the source books. So if you're going to choose, so you could basically watch through those and understand which kind of character kind of matches your sensibility, or the play style that you'd want to have by just listening to those corporation focused videos. And then also focuses on the specific events, a lot of the war zone battles, and then also the oddities, the kind of deep lore. We released the Mega Body deep lore video, and that is a dive into one of those oddball things. It suggests, like, it didn't tip everything away, and 3E elaborates a little bit too much maybe on the Mega Body, so that's not in the video, but it tells you what it is and kind of like leads you, gives you the hooks that would lead you into a campaign that could be all about trying to reassemble a certain number of skulls. But those sorts of interesting things are the kind of little details and the flavor of this setting that's really inspiring, that's really unique, that stands out, has a real techno fantasy, like excellent kind of dark kind of perverse mess to it that works really well, because things are just so it's such a great combination of guns and corporate espionage and investigation and suspicion of corruption by demons. I mean, there's a lot of really great stuff in Mutant Chronicles. So keep an eye out for those videos, as well as the history. So hopefully when I get the get my coffee table book, I'll be able to run through that, and that'll give me a lot of the illustrations that I need as well to give you an idea of what's the mutant in Mutant Chronicles and kind of where that came from, and so the whole genesis of this setting, and like I said, the cult RPG kind of pantheon of demons. Did you say pantheon for demons? Maybe there's a darker way to say pantheon, but the demons that were taken from the cult setting and brought into Mutant Chronicles. So thank you so much for joining me, and please like this video if you enjoy this kind of deep dive and flip through things, and also let me know if you prefer just scrolling a PDF. Is that too antiseptic? Is that too cold? Is it more fun to like actually see pages flipped in a book, so you get the quality of what things are going? Or if the glare is just too ridiculous on my setup to make that possible. But I really want to know like what people prefer. So let me know that in the comments, and we will do more of these. I mean, anytime anything Mutant Chronicles comes up, I definitely want to let everybody know about it. And if you've got a 3D printer, you've got 18 miniatures that you can print at any size from this setting. So that's, yeah, that was very surprising for me. So thanks so much for joining me, and everybody take care, and keep watching this channel. So yeah, subscribe to the channel if you want notifications. I do live streams that go out on both Twitch and YouTube, and everything is archived on upturntable.com, so you can get access to the audio podcast, and then all the videos and streams are accessible from there as well. So thank you so much for watching, and we will be back again with some more tabletop goodness, and keep looking for the next complete Mutant Chronicles. See you then. Goodbye.